So this is my fight prediction for Joyce versus Derek Chisora. This fight should be for a bigger fight against somebody like Joseph Parker or even a Dillian White. I don't know. It should be a fight that basically should be for a Saudi funded fight. A lot of these domestic fights right now are basically getting made either in the U.S. or U.K. Then the winner of those fights are basically fighting in Saudi Arabia, other bigger fights. So it's almost a situation that's kind of different, but I've kind of gotten used to it already. I don't know. I kind of see things just happening a certain way. But overall, this is going to be a good fight. I feel like Joyce has a size advantage. Chisora, I would give advantage on the speed. I would give Joyce the advantage on the power. Chisora, the movement advantage. Also, his punch selection. Accuracy, probably Joyce. You know, he's accurate even though it's not as fast. But he has to come out and be aggressive in this fight. He can't really lay back and let a guy like Chisora get himself going and get a rhythm. I feel like if he can keep Chisora from basically working early, that this fight can end up being a short night. You know, it doesn't have to be a long fight, but if he doesn't fight the right way, it won't come together right. Because overall, Joyce, he's a guy that doesn't really go to the body as much as Chisora does. He does tend to go upstairs a lot more, but his stamina is a lot better. I feel like Joyce has to have a better plan in this fight, though, because Chisora will know what he's trying to do early on and late. He's going to try to do the same thing that a lot of other guys have had success against Joyce, like Zhang. Even though in some wins, Cash Ali did a couple of things against Joyce that kind of slowed him down, gave him trouble. The movement, moving from left to right. So that's some things that Chisora can actually add to his arsenal. But if he doesn't, just cause some trouble. It is what it is. But he has to be able to throw some punches on the move and also let his power punches go as far as his overhand right and throw some hard left hooks. But if I was Chisora, I would focus on going to the body, jabbing to the body. If he can jab, that'll put him in a position where he needs to be at. I feel like he has to jab a lot more, though. Even if he's not moving around, which him moving around, even though he has an age difference, him moving around and his stamina, I feel like could be an issue. Even though Joyce's stamina isn't great, I feel like Chisora's stamina keeps him away from a point to where he can actually be ultra aggressive. Because if he's aggressive with a good gas tank, he'll still be a force to reckon with. But his gas tank's not the same. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too impressed with the gas tank. It's not really the abilities that give me all sorts of trouble. It's the gas tank. It's not really real. But he's a very good fighter, though. He's gonna be tough. If he can have a strategy like he did against Usyk, but I don't know if his stamina is the same as it was then. He was slightly younger. That's probably one of his last good years that he was at. And now it's like that Gerald Washington fight. I just didn't like the punches that he was taking. I feel like it was sloppy. He was trying to cut corners in the fight instead of, I don't know, it was almost like a bad sparring match. Because even though he was landing, I don't know if he was just trying to go for the knockout, but it wasn't a good game plan. I feel like he could have did a lot better trying to figure out what to do in that fight. And if he fights Joyce the same way, it's gonna be a lot of trouble. But Joyce, he's coming in confident, which he needs right now, and it's gonna be a tough fight for him. But with a guy like Chisora who can be aggressive and come forward, I think that's what Joyce needs, especially with his size advantage. But it can be a huge difference. He has no head movement. Now, if he's at a point right now to where, and this time kind of tough because it could be, even though, I don't like saying this, it could be to a point right now where you hit him with a good shot, he could go down pretty easy. With the age and the tough fights he's had, especially with Zhang going down from his shots. Zhang has a lot of power, but going down from his shots and everything like that could play a huge advantage in this fight. But I feel like his chin is the same pretty much. It's not really like he's doesn't have a chin or anything like that. So I wouldn't say he doesn't have a chin. I feel like he still has a chin, still strong. But I don't feel like Chisora is going to hit him with anything to the point where he can't handle. I feel like he had a lot of advantages in the Gerald Washington fight, and he just wasn't the same. I don't know. I've been watching him for a while now. He just wasn't the same in that fight. Like, he slowed down a bunch. And I know he wasn't active as much then, and he hasn't been active as much lately, so doesn't help. It's almost the same scenario. And if Joyce would have been in that ring that day, probably would have been a different situation. But I feel like Chisora is going to be a lot more motivated, so I'm not trying to gauge it off of just the last fight. But that is playing off in my mind. That definitely is playing in my mind. Man, could Joyce go in there and stop Chisora in this fight? It's tough. I'm thinking that he can right now, but me, it's going to be a tough fight. I'm going to go with the decision. I'm going with a decision, Joyce in this fight. I think Joyce, this decision fight for him. I think he's going to pull out the victory. He's going to eventually have to go to the body. He's going to do that little touch jab, try to throw that right hand, throw some left hooks. And it's going to cause some trouble for Chisora. He's going to buzz him a couple times. I think it's going to be slightly a bloody fight. But that's all I got, though. Like and subscribe.